You think you know me?
Alright, welcome to From Inside the Mind of the Original Champ. I am your host, the Original Champ. It is August 11th, 2011. This is episode 1, Drafting Quarterbacks. Now, a little bit about myself. Alright, I've been in a draft with a fantasy league with my friends for close to about 8 years now. And I won our first year, and I'm a 2-time division champion. There's 12 teams in our league. Alright, I have a lot of fun with this. I do my research, and with this show, I'm going to try to help you out the best I can. Today's show is drafting quarterbacks. It's August, leagues are starting to form, and you need to know who to pick. Now, in a lot of leagues, quarterbacks generate a lot of points. And if you have a good quarterback, you're going to start. It's basically laying the groundwork. For success. All right. There's 4 elite quarterbacks that are worthy of drafting in week 1. All right. In no particular order, let's go with Tom Brady. He's throwing to Wes Welker, Ocho Cinco, and Deion Branch. Now, each of those guys are going to have a better year than last year. You got to figure Brady's going to have maybe a 15% swing on his stats with a core like that out there. Those guys are top-notch players. They're established. They prove themselves in fantasy worlds year after year. All those guys together are going to, if not, do one thing, and that's keep Brady's offense on the field. There's no doubt about that. And when Brady's on the field, let the stats rack up. All right? Stats equals points. Number 2, you have Michael Vick. In 12 games last year, Michael Vick put up as many points as Tom Brady did in a lot of leagues. And the scoring depends on, scoring is different in each league. But Michael Vick is a fantasy stud, and there's no reason why he shouldn't be the same this year. Today, the Eagles added Steve Smith from the Giants. You have issues with Macklin. Okay, he's got some illness that is going to keep him out for a while. Okay, so Steve Smith will come in, hopefully fill that spot, and the team is going to do well. They have a lot of defense. The defense means they're going to keep people off the field, which means their offense is going to be on the field. It's going to be a lot of opportunity for Vic to rack up stats with those guys running out there, just like he did last year. Okay, you can't go away from Vic. Number 3, you have Aaron Rodgers. You got your returning Super Bowl champion. Each of the guys he's throwing to, okay, with the return of Ryan Grant, you got Greg Jennings, you got James Jones, you got Donald Driver. All those guys, fantasy stats, they all lead back to Aaron Rodgers. Fantasy stats, okay? Phil Rivers is your 4th quarterback that I consider elite, quality of the first round. Okay, you got Vincent Jackson, downfield threat. He's got his franchise tag. All the issues with the holdouts and all that stuff and the nonsense, it's all over. Okay, Vincent Jackson is back. He's definitely worthy of a fantasy draft as a wide receiver. Okay, you have Malcolm Floyd, who had a pretty decent year last year. All right, Vincent Jackson and Malcolm Floyd are going to be a good receiving core out there for Phil Rivers. Okay, and Phil Rivers, he is the king of stats. He will have a good year. Okay, 4 elite quarterbacks, all worthy of the first round. You take that to the bank. The original champ said so. All right, let's talk about Drew Brees and Peyton Manning. First off, we have Drew Brees. Fantastic quarterback year after year. But, Reggie Bush is out. He was a big factor in their passing game. And Marcus Colston is having issues with his knees. All right? He's got that surgically repaired knee from a few years ago. And right now to this day, he's still a little injured. It's got swelling. It's got irritation. All right? Something like that is going to linger year long. So be careful with Drew Brees. But the one plus on that is Lance Moore, who is Colston's backup. He's probably going to have a pretty decent year. He's going to have to take the bulk of that. Now, Peyton Manning. He's another one coming off an injury. He got the neck surgery that he's getting over. I believe he's not practicing yet. Maybe he's throwing lightly. It's August 11th, and I'll tell you what, time's ticking away. It's bad enough the NFL had the holdout and whatnot. So, Peyton Manning may not be your first-round quarterback this year. Usually is, maybe not this year. Matt Ryan. You know, I considered a lot about putting him in as elite status this year, and instead of 4, going with 5. But you have such a great core out there of receivers. You got Roddy White, okay, and he's been a top 3 or 4 receiver every year now for the last 3 years or so. You have Tony Gonzalez. You know, he is old reliable. You have a fantastic backfield behind him. You have the addition of Julio Jones from the draft, who I believe right now is on the top of the depth chart to start. You know, there is going to be people running around the field all over the place for Matt Ryan to dump the ball to hit Roddy White on slants. You know, he's going to have a lot of success this year. Great year for Matt Ryan. I would grab him early. One of these other 4 guys they're all not available. Matt Ryan's there. Even if some of them are available, you know what? Matt Ryan is not a bad pick this year. You know, he's definitely going to be something you want to build your team around. Matt Ryan. All right. Matt Schaub every year from the Houston Texans. Throw in Andre Johnson. You might as well double cover the guy. You might as well triple cover the guy, and they do. But you know what? He still seems to have the fantasy stats. All right, Matt Schaub, not a bad quarterback to go. He's not saying it's first round. He's not an elite this year, but he's definitely a quarterback you might want to draft. All right, you got Ben Roethlisberger. Mike Wallace, not a bad year last year. I think the guy had 10 touchdowns, if not more. I think he got his 1,000 yards, so he's going to build on that. Mike Wallace is turning into a fantasy star, more or less. Hines Ward, all reliable. He's out there all the time. You have Heath Miller, who's a good tight end, and Roethlisberger likes his tight end. And you have well, today, according to ESPN and everything else, the Steelers added Cotchery. He's not going to start. He's not a fantasy pick, but you know what? He is another guy to throw the ball to, and the Steelers do pass the ball quite often. Roethlisberger loves to throw. He loves to scramble around the backfield and throw to somebody. And just one more person out there to find, just Cotchery. So Roethlisberger is probably going to have a decent, successful year of passing. Usually hits that 300 mark with the passing yards each week, and I don't see why that's going to stop this year. All right. Mark Sanchez. I'm not a fan. Santonio Holmes is a fantastic receiver. He'll be a good pick this year, but, you know, you got Burris out there now, and the problem with Burris is, you know, at 34 years old, with a rolled ankle, you know, and today they're reporting swelling now, but you know what? You know, I'm 36, and, you know, I play men's softball. I'm fast. I cover center field a lot. You know, I rolled my ankle in May, sliding to second base, and it's August now, and it still hurts me because I'm 36. I'm not a little kid. I'm not a young guy anymore. And you know what? Either is Burris. So this rolled ankle might linger for weeks, and if you twist it again, or if he strains it trying to cut or something, it's going to be lingering all year long. And that's what I figured when he signed. And so what? You know, so that's what's going to happen. The Jets also added Derek Mason a few days ago. And you know what? Derek Mason's never been a fantasy player, and he still isn't today. So that leaves Mark Sanchez high and dry. If you need a quarterback and all these guys are gone, then you know what? I guess you have no choice but to get Mark Sanchez. Matt Stafford. I like the kid. He's been dealing with injuries, but when he plays, he seems to be a playmaker. Seems to make a lot of things happen. Calvin Johnson's catching balls out there. You got Burleson, who I kind of like. They got this other guy, Titus Young. Hopefully he gets over his little knee injury, whatever maybe it's a hamstring or something. And you know what, Matt Stafford, he's not a bad pick. He's not a first-round pick. He's not a second-round pick. But you know, he can be a starting quarterback in a lot of leagues. This year, Tony Romo, he's number 1 on my list. You know, he's been up there and he's been down there. And last year, coming off the injury, right before he went out, I think he had 9 interceptions in something like 5 games. You know, and I don't think the Cowboys had won a game to that point. So Romo's on my watch out list. I'm not going to draft him. I'm not going to draft him if he's even the last quarterback. I'd rather play in when somebody gets hurt, jump on waivers. I'm still not drafting Tony Romo this year. Number 2, I'm also not drafting Donovan McNabb. I like the guy. He's been my starter in the past, but I'll tell you what, he's with the Vikings now, and the only thing good about that is that Adrian Peterson is going to have a better year than last year. McNabb is a consistent quarterback. He's been a great quarterback, and I have no problem him being on any team. But you know what? The problem is with guys like Bernard Berrian, Michael Jenkins, and Percy Harvin, and those are your stars out there. Those guys are definitely not fantasy players. They never have been, and they never will be, and they won't be this year. So that leaves McNabb, like Sanchez, high and dry. And again, don't pick McNabb. He's on my watch out list. But for Adrian Peterson fans, that's a bag of candy right there, and that's great. He's gonna definitely give Peterson a chance to be a better stud than what he is. And that's it. That wraps up drafting quarterbacks. Thank you for watching. I'm your original champ. Next time, episode 2, running backs. All right, good luck out there.